primary concerns of many of my clients is about getting started with tasks, stopping tasks, and changing over from tasks. So basically, procrastination, motivation, executive function, things like that. So let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Maaya. I'm from Structured Success, and I am an ADHD coach and academic strategist. So my background is in psychology. I've been working as an ADHD coach for the last 3 years, and hopefully at the end of the talk today, you'll have a better understanding of how executive function works, how to get started, and maybe how to manage your own personal motivation when it comes to starting, stopping, and changing tasks. But first, I feel like we need to talk about some terms, because we're talking about the same thing in a whole bunch of different ways. I've already mentioned a couple of these. So executive dysfunction is talked about quite frequently in ADHD communities. But, for example, autistic inertia is also a form of executive dysfunction, and it explains largely the same things. Some people also talk about this same problem by another name, set switching, or changing from one task to another task, or activation, the ability to activate yourself into one task. While a lot of these terms have very similar connotations, they mean slightly different things. So for executive function, for example, executive function encompasses a lot more than just starting, stopping, and switching tasks. Executive functions also include things like prioritizing and planning. So when we talk about executive dysfunction and we only talk about the ability to start tasks, that's kind of doing a disservice to the entirety of executive function. Autistic inertia, however, is primarily about that starting, stopping, and switching tasks. Autistic people find that it's very, very difficult to get tasks started and then to finish tasks without a proper, natural end to them. This inertia causes them to spend a lot of energy either starting tasks or finishing tasks or dealing with changes in the middle of those tasks. So when is this a problem? This is a problem for us whenever we're doing something that goes against our natural interests. So that could be our special interests, that could be hyperfixations, that could just be something that we need in terms of a dopamine fix. But whenever we're doing something that is against those interests, we have a lack of internal motivation that makes it harder for us to start those things. Oftentimes, those are associated with tasks that we have to do on a regular basis, or things that we have to do for other goals, such as work or school. This isn't a problem when we're in crisis mode. Crisis mode is basically when we're faced with an impending deadline, it's due tomorrow, like this video, oops, or it could be something like a change in family circumstance or something like that that puts us on edge, kicks up that adrenaline, and puts us into action. This is when executive function is largely not a problem for a lot of ADHDers. So what's going on here? Basically, what's going on here is that ADHDers lack the internal motivation to get a task started the way that neurotypicals do. So the way that I like to describe this is in terms of an analogy. Imagine that you have a ball sitting on the top of a hill. That ball needs a little bit of energy. You have to go up and push that ball to have it start rolling down the hill. As the ball rolls down the hill, it picks up speed, and that speed is how deeply we focus. At the end of the hill, we have to stop the ball, or we have to direct it into a different task. ADHDers have a bigger ball. So what that means is that we have to take more energy to push the ball to get it started. As it goes down the hill, it picks up speed faster, we can focus deeper, but at the end of the hill, we have to stop the ball and we have to use more energy to stop the ball or redirect it into a different task. In more practical terms, this means that our internal motivation alone may not be enough to start the ball rolling. So, what we do instead is we rely on external motivation or less healthy coping mechanisms to give us the energy to get started. In terms of those less healthy coping mechanisms, that can be things like emotions. We get scared, we get angry, we get sad, we get anxious, and all of those things give us a little bit more energy to push the ball. But what happens when that's not enough? When that doesn't work, we can get stuck in spirals we can feel like, oh, anxiety helped us last time, so if we just get more anxious and we think about all the things that we should have been doing and we feel really guilty about that, we can push that ball even harder. And then we just end up collapsing because we are feeling a whole bunch of shame and a whole bunch of guilt. So, not healthy. So some healthy alternatives include anything that gives us energy, helps us focus, or gives us some external accountability in the goals that we set for ourselves. In terms of things that give us energy, this can include anything that naturally stimulates our dopamine production or stimulates us generally. So that could be things like taking our medication in the morning, or caffeine. It could also be music, movement, or developing some sort of sense of interest. In terms of external accountability, one of the healthy things that helps a lot of ADHDers is developing a study buddy relationship or a body doubling relationship. Body doubling is basically when you're working on one task and another person is working on a similar task at the same time. When you're working together in parallel, you have a natural check-in. You have somebody else that looks like they're working, so you get motivation to continue working yourself. Likewise, they get the similar benefit. Another form of external accountability that helps a lot of ADHDers is having somebody to be accountable to. If we say we're going to do this thing to somebody else, sometimes knowing that that person can check on us and ask, hey, how's that thing going, is enough to motivate us to get started in the first place. Another really healthy alternative, and one that a lot of ADHDers are going to laugh at me for because I know we suck at this, but routine. So if we have a regular routine, that can give us a lot more energy to start the task. If we do a workout every day after lunch, then when it comes time to have lunch, you're going to be naturally cued to start your workout after lunch. That reduces the size of the ball a little bit, or at least gives you a little bit more energy to push it. So great, we talked about how to start that ball rolling. We have a couple of ideas, including music, including taking your medication, including finding external accountability. But how do we stop tasks at the end or move them into a different task? One of the first things you're going to have to know is that it's always going to be easier to maintain momentum than to lose that momentum. So if you can stack your tasks in such a way that you can use momentum to your advantage, you'll be able to link tasks and make it so that the energy from one task builds you into the next task. So how does this work? Basically, when you have one task that requires a certain skill set, and then a second task that uses a similar skill set, you can use the momentum from one task to build into that other. What this looks like is maybe you have to write an email to somebody. To your mind, that might be a social task, or maybe a writing task. So is there a way you can follow that up with a similar task? If that's a social task, that would be a good time to do other social tasks, including answering other emails, or answering messages on Snapchat, or responding to text messages. If that's a writing task, that would be a good place to put something like an assignment that requires a lot of writing. Pairing a writing task with a writing task, or a social task with a social task, will make transitioning from one task to the other much easier. But how do we stop? This is probably one of the things that is most difficult for particularly autistic people, but it's also something that a lot of ADHDers struggle with. A lot of times, there isn't a natural stopping point. If there isn't a natural stopping point, this can be very difficult. What is a natural stopping point? A natural stopping point is, I have a 5-page essay, I finished the 5th page, awesome, I'm done. Okay, but there are other natural stopping points along the way. So if you can break that task into smaller chunks, then completing any one of those chunks can be a natural stopping point. So maybe your goal is to finish page 1. At the end of page 1, that now becomes a natural stopping point. Maybe your goal is to just do the bibliography. That's also a natural stopping point now. So these smaller tasks can serve as a way to not only motivate you to start the task, but can also make it easier to end the task when you're done it. Now it's time to manage expectations. We're never going to get to a point where we're going to be able to start every task when we want to start that task. No matter how many fidgets we have, no matter how much music we listen to, no matter how much we play with our emotions or get external accountability, sometimes there's going to be things that we're going to have trouble starting. That's okay. Remember, even neurotypicals struggle with starting, switching, and stopping tasks on occasion. So, the goal should be harm reduction, not perfection. Instead of looking for solutions so that you'll never have this problem again, look for little ways that you can implement changes to make things a little bit easier for yourself. These marginal gains will make a big difference in terms of your productivity and hopefully give you more energy to do the things that you want to do because you're no longer wasting the energy trying to do the things that you have to do. Hello, you've made it to the end card. In case your memory is as bad as mine, I'm Maaya. I run Structured Success. Hopefully there will be some links below where you can find out more information. This has been a talk for Camp ADHD, so there's information below to find out more about them as well. And thanks for watching.